Welcome back to another episode of the Vital Pursuit podcast. We are joined today by another very special guest, one of my close friends. I'm blessed enough to say Mark, Pastor Mark. I haven't had a pastor yet. This is fun. I get to say Pastor Mark.
This could be your first and last when this is done.
Yeah. Do you want last name? I forgot to ask you that. We can throw your last
All depends of you.
I don't care. You tell me.
Sure.
Okay. Mark White, correct?
That's right.
Mark White. Mark White is pastor of the Ridge Community Church, and I guess that would be called Greenfield.
Greenfield and Oak Creek.
Greenfield and Oak Creek, Wisconsin. So how I connected with Mark, my wife is obviously from Wisconsin. I am not, thank God. And when we moved here, we went to the church that you pastor for a couple years, which is the church that my father-in-law and mother-in-law still attend. And yeah, I feel like we kind of hit it off right away and, you know, giving each other crap, and it was always a good time.
Man, I would agree. And it was fun. Just you get married and then you see you become a father, and it's been pretty cool to just watch. And then to see now you doing this.
Yeah.
Dude, this is pretty cool.
I tell you, life is like, I don't know, man. Everybody tells you, like, as you grow up and life's gonna, you know, it'll surprise you. You'll never believe what you're gonna end up getting into. And I'm always like, yeah, right. Okay, whatever. And now looking back like a year ago, I had no like idea that I wanted to even do a podcast. Like, I'm a huge podcast fan, but just like, I didn't have the margin for this. Mark, I still don't have the margin for this.
You never do. When you want to make a difference,
right?
You just don't, but you just got to go, I'm going to create the margin. You told me, this was a year ago, that you were thinking of doing it. I don't know if you remember this or not. You were telling me about it. And I said, yeah, man, do it. Do it. And it's cool to see this.
Yeah.
And so you're desperate for guests, and so you're bringing me on board. I appreciate it.
I literally turned over every rock.
I know.
Yeah, here we are. But yeah, man, it's great to have you. You know, a lot of things I feel like we're going to talk about today. Definitely a few things in my mind that I feel like God has put on my heart in the last year, really. And that's mental health is a big thing. We all, if you have two friends, statistically, both of them right now are probably struggling with mental health. It's an epidemic, I think. I don't think that's too strong of a word to use, because it is just affecting every family that I know. And I mean, to me, that is a pretty big deal. So that is definitely something that we are going to get into and talk to. Before we do that, everybody has to have an introduction. We got to brag about how cool you are.
Oh,
right?
All right.
So we're going to run through that quick. Now, nothing in here is false, because this is all stuff you told me, so I'm not making any of this up. So, Mark White, born in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, grew up with a passion for sports, pursuing basketball, tennis, and running. You attended college at Hope College and then transferred to the University of Miami, Florida, where you got a bachelor's degree in international finance and marketing. After college, you worked as a retail space specialist for the Coca-Cola Company. You are now a full-time pastor at a local church in Wisconsin. You are a professional trash talker, have a very questionable love for cats. You're a husband, father, mentor, and most importantly, you know me.
That's it.
Yeah.
You are the most important thing in my life.
I can't think of anything more important, you know.
There you go.
That's about it. So, yeah, does that sound like the right guy?
That sounds good.
Okay, perfect. I feel like we need to right away dive into why you like cats. It bothers me. I don't know. I'm sorry.
So I was living when I was living in Florida after school. Got my job at the Coca-Cola Company, and I was all by myself.
And that's like the Coca-Cola Company.
That's the Coca-Cola Company. And I was 21 at the time. I'm living on my own in West Palm Beach. Had never been to West Palm Beach when I took the job. So knew nobody. I was dating what would be my future wife, Donna, but she was living up in Wisconsin, so we were dating long distance.
Oh, geez.
And I got lonely, and she said, why don't you get a cat? And I said, I don't like cats. She goes, you never had a cat or been around one. And I thought, well, she is kind of right. Yeah. And I kept getting lonely. And then she came down, and because I wanted to stay dating her, I thought, I better get a cat. You know, she said, get a cat. So we went to the pound while she was there and got one. And I tell you what, it was the most fun pet I've ever had.
Really?
And I've had dogs and all stuff. He was a blast. He was so much fun, so friendly, all that stuff. Never look back. Now, there's bad cats, just like there's bad dogs.
Sure.
But you get the right one, man. Low maintenance. They have attitude. I love that. They have personality. Where dogs are just dumb. They'll do whatever you want to do and all that stuff and all that. So I love cats.
Okay, that is probably the best definition of why you.
So half your
someone-
audience just turned me off
yeah,
right there. They
right?
just turned
I
it
mean,
down.
It's I don't like cats, but maybe I just never had a good cat.
You never had a good one.
We're gonna go with that.
I'm gonna go with that.
We're gonna go with that. Good enough. All right, man. Well, I think something that I want to talk about as well, because I just think it's interesting. So, you played sports growing up. We instantly have a common bond there. I played basketball. It's funny how people who played sports, that's not that they're all driven, but if you were really invested in sports, it's kind of interesting to watch then as you progress into your later years in life or whatever, that drive just gets redirected. You never really lose that. Like in high school, all I did was basketball. Like that was my entire identity was basketball, right? And it's just kind of interesting then you watch yourself as you get older, how that drive then becomes a few avenues. I don't know if you've seen that in your life.
Oh yeah, and I played basketball in high school. I was so obsessed with it that after school, this was in 10th grade year, I would shoot just by myself, not during the basketball season, off season, 2.5 hours a day in the upper gym.
Jeez.
And I would just shoot 2.5 hours. Homecoming, and be on Friday nights. Homecoming was going on. I'd be and the janitor of the high school, he would always let me in, even on Friday nights. He'd go shoot. And I trusted that you're going to lock up. And I was just obsessed with getting better and doing what it took to get better. And that has not left me in whatever I do. I just feel like, man, I've been given one life. I want to steward it well, and I want to just do whatever I can in what I do.
Yeah, that's talking about things we can relate on is that I love meeting people who want to be better at something. And there's a lot of amazing Instagram quotes out there, be 1% better every day or whatever. But one of them I like is from one of the YouTubers I used to watch. He actually retired now, but it was Demolition Ranch. I don't know if you've ever heard of
No,
it.
I never heard of it.
Anyways, he blew up and became one of the biggest YouTubers probably of all time in that space. And anyways, long story short is he started vlogging more and whatever, but he always just, in every video that he would make, he always would say, I want to do one thing that makes me better today than I was yesterday. And it's like the most simple cliche thing ever, right? But then you start living that way. And it, like, when I first heard that, I'm like, I'm doing that and I'm already stressed out about what that one thing is going to be, right? And then you start realizing, like, that can be a good conversation with my wife today. That can be opening the door for an old lady today. That can be not saying that thing that I really wanted to say to that guy in traffic. Like, okay, there's a billion things I can do every single day. And you start looking for that one thing, and it's so rewarding when you get it, and then you start doing more,
Well, I always tell my kids this: slow and steady wins the race. So it's kind of the same thing. It's little by little over time. It's the compound interest effect in every area of our life, and it just grows. That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool to see. One of my favorite quotes, I've heard this one on the Chris Williamson podcast, but there's 3 guys on a ladder. One is at the top, one is in the middle, and one's at the bottom. Which one's best off?
Middle.
The one still climbing. Right?
I didn't see that coming.
Accurate, right.
See?
How accurate. And
Wow,
it's
all
so
right.
true. Like, as soon as you think you get, boy, can I tell you that's the truth. As soon as you think you got it, you don't got it. And as soon as you think you're there and you're comfortable, you're about to be really uncomfortable.
And here's what you'll find. Obviously, I'm a little bit older than you, just a little.
Like 2 years.
Yeah, 20. The older you get, the more you realize you don't know.
Yeah.
There's this crazy effect. And it's kind of cool, but yet at the same time, it's very humbling to go, man, I've lived all this life, and yet I feel like I'm scratching the surface.
See, that's going to stress me out.
Oh, you'll like it.
Will I?
You got to embrace
All
it.
right, I'm going to trust you.
You embrace it.
Because right now it feels like it's going to stress me
Because here's
out.
you're not going to have any choice.
Yeah, great. Even better. I love it. So, interesting career switch. Got to talk about that. So, business world, chasing the
Yeah.
money, I assume. I mean, who else goes into business if it's not for money?
Yeah.
And now full-time pastor.
Yeah, you talked about the goal setting thing in the sports. Well, for me, when I transitioned into the corporate world, I was in eighth grade, I was already reading business books. I knew what I wanted to do with my life. A corporate background with my family, a corporate background for me. I remember I was reading Lee Iacocca's autobiography when I was in eighth grade. I was during the summer too. It was even worse.
Can I call you a nerd?
Yeah, it was, man. And I always knew what I wanted to do. I went to college. I got the degree, that you had said, and I even graduated early so I could start my corporate career early. So I accelerated getting out of school, graduating, all that stuff. All right. But during that time, I was really far from God. Didn't care about, religion or God or anything like that. Even though I did well in school and then I started my corporate career, my personal life was spinning out of control in so many ways, just with drinking and many other things. And so there's huge disconnect. And I just felt so lost and lonely, started going to church. And one morning, it was crazy. One morning I just woke up and I really was like, I'm going to give my life to Jesus. It was in my bedroom in my one bedroom apartment. And that's where I did it. And my life just started to change like that. Next couple of years, I just started to grow. And then I started to be driven to see more people find Jesus. I was like, well, how come more people don't want to experience the grace of God? This is the best thing in the world. I can't understand why. So I started to just be obsessed thinking more about that. And then eventually I couldn't stop thinking about it and just talked to a couple mentors. And then eventually it was a very difficult thing because now I'm married and we leave to get a master's degree and go back to school and we have nothing. And we didn't know where it was going to turn out or anything like that. So it was kind of crazy. We just were in no man's land, but we just went for it.
Jeez. That's stressful.
Yeah, it was. We didn't know what to do or how it was going to turn out. And we're just like, okay. And this is the last place, Wisconsin, because I grew up here, but I had been out of the state for 14 years. I never expected to be back here.
Wow.
Nor wanted to be.
Yeah.
Snow. I was in Florida and California, man.
Yeah.
Snow sucks. It sucks, man. It sucks.
That's a big change.
Yeah, it was.
So before the turning point in your dorm room there, were you a believer already? And just
No.
to kind of that's wild.
Far from God as all get out.
I mean, I assume you had heard the gospel
I had
before then.
Yeah, I grew up in a pretty traditional church, but then when I went away moved out of the house, this is a very common story. I wanted nothing to do with it, so I was like, I'm out of that whole thing. I don't want to go back. I called it like prison, being in church, and so that's how I lived.
Wow.
That's how I lived. Wanted nothing to do with it.
Yeah, that was a statement you made in one of the questions I asked you. You said you left the first college because a Christian college.
It was a
felt
Christian
like
college.
A prison, and I was like,
was.
boy, I can relate to that.
So I was going there. I didn't know what a Christian college was.
Yeah.
And I just thought, all of a sudden, I go there. And it's like, you got a curfew. You have
Dress code.
Oh yeah, you have dress code. You can't. There's co-ed. There's not co-ed dorms.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is nuts. And so the first semester I'm there, and the only semester I was around another group of guys who couldn't stand it. We broke so many rules, it was unbelievable. And then we just finally said, I can't take this anymore, and left.
Yeah. Sounds about like my college career. So we went to Pensacola. I think you know that.
I do.
Yeah, which is like.
I know.
You know. And boy, it was fun. Pensacola is really fun when you're just trying to have fun and see what you can get away with. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, and that's why. And it's a funny thing is, one of the biggest hangups people have with God is they think it's rules. And we always tell people from the very beginning of the Bible, God only gave one rule, because where love exists and where responsibility exists, you don't need a whole lot of rules.
Yeah.
And it wasn't till later that the rules came, but grace came before the rules.
Yeah.
And so we focus on the rules, but with Jesus, this is what I found out. It was like the rules don't matter, but when the heart is connected, it all changes because you don't think about the rules. You want to please God. So I don't think about, I have to do this. I'm like, I get to? Hey, this is really cool. Hey, this is going to bring me close. I love this. God wants what's best for me. Okay. It just changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of people like me who grew up where that wasn't the environment that we grew up in, We've talked about this before. It's really hard sometimes to see God through all the godliness. And that's a really weird way to say it, but it popped into my head. You're surrounded by people being so godly that it's hard sometimes to see the humanity of what it's like to actually be a normal, believer struggling. And that's a good segue into, I think for me, mental health probably started a lot younger than I ever realized. And that's something I'm working with my therapist now about. And I think some of it, my parents did the best they could, and I love them to death. They did the best they could to raise me in a godly home, in a home that taught respect and love and admiration for God, and I appreciate all of that because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them. But that being said, there was the specific church we went to. There's a lot of things I don't agree with, and one of those now is the stance on mental health. And I, admittedly, embarrassingly, have to say that up until 3-4 years ago, kind of thought it was a joke because that's kind of the way it was treated. Is, well, if you're not godly enough, then yeah, you might be struggling with some mental health issues.
Or you can pray it away and
Right. Do you want to know how demoralizing it is to someone who is struggling mentally for the advice to be you're just not godly enough? Like, wow. That's a tough place to be coming, like the place where you're at to be telling someone that, I don't even know where you get there. But so until Cassie really struggled and fell into the horrible time that she had a couple years ago with that, it wasn't real. And then it was real. And not only was it real, it was right there.
it's personal now.
It was personal in every possible sense of the word. And the most important human on the face of the earth, I don't know how to help. You want to talk about trying to figure something out, have your wife struggle with it. Like, if you didn't care, you now care. And you want a master's degree in that thing, right? Because all I want to do is make sure she's got what she needs.
Yeah, she's well.
And I couldn't make her well, and I couldn't do anything about it. And that is when my start of, wow, this is a thing, So I guess maybe, why don't you speak into your thoughts a little bit on how as a pastor and someone who leads a church now, how do you think we can get away from that mindset of you're not godly and like you're not godly enough.
Yeah, something's
like,
wrong with you.
Something's wrong with you.
Yeah, I think your story, unfortunately, is more common, and experience is more common than I'd like to admit. My hypothesis on that is when the mental health epidemic really started to take off. I think early on, there was a large segment of Christians, let's just call it that, they just didn't know what to do with that because they would take certain passages that talked about anxiety and things like that, and they would look at those and go, well, there's got to be something wrong. You're not doing this right. Obviously, as we've gotten more educated with it, I think that is, I'm hoping, becoming less common, at least my experience now talking with pastors and stuff, because I know a lot of pastors who struggle with their mental health. I met with one last week, and he said, hey, a pastor of a pretty large church. He said, hey, man, I'm struggling with mental health. Can you sit down and talk? Yeah. Now what we're seeing, which is great, is now that when the church talks about those things, is all of a sudden people are going, me too? You mean it's okay and God's okay with me? Like, yeah, not only is God okay with you, God wants to walk with you in the middle of that.
Sure.
And it's like a whole bunch of shame and stuff gets released, and there's just a freedom there. And no, there's not something wrong with you. And hey, we can step into this, and there's different ways that you can experience God in the middle of this. So there's just so much there, Drew, with that. That hopefully that experience is becoming less and less.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it's really encouraging from a person coming from that, that story to see someone who is leading a church that is trying to, I would say, one thing I really am thankful the Ridge is doing is changing that narrative on mental health. It seems, at least from the outside, and that is something that is I really appreciate because, I just, like, the church is supposed to be a beacon, right? It is supposed to be a place where you can come and hear truth in a world where truth is like trying to find a needle in a haystack, right? And a place that you can come and have something bigger than all of the crap that is too big for you. There's something bigger. Like, there is God, the King of the world. And to have people come to that place searching for that, whether they realize it or not, and then have someone say, you know, I'm sorry, you're just, I wish you were godly enough to not have mental health problems. It's just, oh boy, it makes me mad. But anyways, yeah, I'm just really thankful that you guys are doing that. So we don't have to talk about it later because now seems like a good enough time. The Ridge is doing some stuff right now that I think is really cool. We're already talking about it, so we might as well dive into it. You guys are doing some pretty specific mental health related ministries that I think are pretty cool, and I just want to give you some airtime to tell us about those and plug them and tell people where to go and what to do.
Yeah, so we walked into it kind of by accident. We did, for a couple years, we did a couple message series on mental health. And they just took off. I mean, they just, all of a sudden, they're being shared all over the place. And we were like, I don't understand why everybody's not talking about this. Because we didn't think anything of it. You know, your story, we were like, yeah, who cares? We're going to do this anyways.
Right.
And then we start reading the statistics, and it's 40% plus are, you know, dealing with anxiety, over 30% depression. I've been in counseling for 5 years and have dealt with bouts of anxiety and depression and just, you know, just different stuff like that. And then we started to ask ourselves a large question. It's like, okay, God, what is the need that you're calling us to meet in our community? And there's a couple things, but the mental health thing just kept resonating with our team. So we're trying something. What we're doing is we are partnering with a Christian counseling organization, and we are bringing on board 3 Christian counselors that specialize in different areas, have different expertise. And then what we're doing is we are working with the different school districts in the area that we have great relationships with, and then we're going to do workshops and cohorts for not only the students but their families, because once again those statistics are huge, and most families are rightfully so. They're going like, I don't know what to do with this. Right. Hey, can you help us? We're like, yeah, we'll help you, and we'll try to provide you some tools and different things like that. They'll also provide one-on-one counseling when needed, and they'll also provide one-on-one counseling for our church when needed. But we're really trying to use this as hopefully a blessing for our community to meet what we think is a very big need. Now, obviously, we can't meet all the need, but we feel like we can start something. And so this is something new that we're pioneering, and, man, we'll see how it goes. We're praying it goes well.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like such a, like, wow, yeah, that just makes sense. Like, why isn't every church doing that, you know? Like, when you say it, it's like, that's
great, yeah, but like, executing it is two different things. But how do you
execute it, right? But it seems like a great plan to pull that together. So,
I mean, our building's in renovation right now to provide space for it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're if you walked in there, it's being gutted. So we're really investing a lot in it.
Yeah,
and we are in the process. We've already hired someone to oversee the whole thing, and it's moving forward.
Awesome, that's great, man.
I'm excited about it. I can't wait to just. And we've already had some school districts. I mean, this is interesting. I mean, this isn't like, these aren't, you know, Christian schools that are okay with this. Mm-hmm. These are, you know, Milwaukee County schools and different things like that. And so they're going like, you guys want to help us? We're like, yeah, man, we want to be there. We know you're struggling and you don't have the resources. Let us help. And they've been like, come on in.
Right.
They've been great.
That's so cool. It's like I said earlier, I think mental health is getting to be such a crisis that the barriers between different cultural things, like, they're going down slowly, and people are just realizing, like, we're all struggling with the same thing here. It looks a little different, obviously, per person, but, like, this is something we are struggling with as a nation and as a world. And, you know, I think, obviously, yes, there is a part of it where people need Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and that's why you do what you do, and that's why I'm here doing what I'm doing, and, you know, quick side tangent. So I've had 8, I think this is the 8th or 9th episode of this podcast, and something that I have neglected to do. I did it a little bit in the first podcast, but I've been feeling a burden in light of a lot of things going on right now, just to say that Jesus is the King of the world. And not only that, he is the Lord of my life. And if you are listening to this podcast and you don't know him, please message me on Instagram. My Instagram stuff is out there. There is nothing more important you can do with your life than to give it to Jesus. And boy, I am not a walking, talking example of what that looks like, but I just know where I would be without him and what he has done in my life and what he has given me. And, you know, the most classic verse, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he gave his only son, and whoever believes in him will not perish, but will have eternal life. And God came to earth, he died for us, and if you accept that gift, man, your life will never be the same again. So I don't know why it's taken me 8 episodes to just say it, because it's the most important thing I could say, and it should be the first thing I said, but I'm saying it now. I've just been really encouraged to be more bold, and to be more bold with what actually matters. And that is what matters. So you obviously know that, Mark.
Do you want my job? I mean, is this what this is about?
Yeah, I'm coming to take
it.
I'm taking your job.
You do great.
Yeah, for real though, if you're listening to this podcast and you need to know more about that, please, there's a comment section on the podcast. My Instagram private message, my Instagram name is always in the description of the podcast. You can reach me there and we will have a conversation, because I think we can both agree that when it's not going to be easy, but when God gets a hold of your life, it will never be the same again.
Yeah, amen and amen. And I tell you, when you, as we talk about mental health and God, what's great is that when you read the Bible, you will see multiple of who people would consider heroes of the faith that dealt with mental health issues. The Moses, David, Elijah has one where he's like, God, I've had enough, take my life. Yeah. And he just went in severe depression. Many people think, so what's great about it is, man, it's following Jesus. One of the beautiful things, I mean, forgiveness and experiencing all that stuff is, I mean, that's enough. But the other stuff where you go like, oh, wait a minute. You mean, Jesus, if I follow you, you really can help me connect the dots with my life, even in the struggles of things. Oh, yeah. And that's what's so powerful about it. In other words, you don't have to do it by yourself. And when you walk with God, his strength is so much more than what we can do on our own, and it's everything.
Yeah, I mean, I legitimately don't know how you do it without him, just because, we all know the world is a very sad place. And it's been a tough couple weeks for the world. And
it has been
not
tough.
just the United States, but the world. I lost count, but at least 3 school shootings in the last week or so. A stabbing on a train to
and not just a stabbing, a murder.
Yeah, not a stabbing.
Slaying.
That's a good correction. A murder in front of everybody on a train of an innocent woman, to the best of my knowledge. I guess we'll say a political figure, but an outspoken Christian who shared God's word, among other things, but shared God's word openly, murdered in cold blood on television. It's a weird world. It's an evil world. And boy, has that been made clear to me in the last couple weeks, is how much evil is in the world and how we underestimate the devil's work. And it's not something we like to talk about, right? We like the grace and the forgiveness and the ooey gooeys, but boy, he's working, and we got to be working because he's working.
Yeah. It's interesting, Drew. So, being at church this week, and I had been on sabbatical for 3 months.
Yeah.
And so I had been on stage, and I was supposed to be on stage this week for the first time, but because of everything that happened, I decided to lead our church through just a time of prayer and response to that. So it was like a 7-minute thing. But so I started it off by just talking about the things that you just brought up. 9/11 was in that mix last week. All right, it's in the backdrop.
Yep.
And the heaviness, was just, you could just feel, people were just like, I don't know what to do with this. And I think sometimes we look for categories when this happens. And so in the news and culture tries to find, what category do I put this in? And they can't find one. The Bible has categories. And one of them is, man, our sin has broken not just us, but it's broken the world. And we try to minimize that. It's no big deal, no big deal. No, it's a big deal. The Bible says all creation groans. In other words, when you don't have to be a Christian to look and go, that's wrong. what we're experiencing. Well, you know why you feel that way? Because we all know that things are not as God intended it to be. And then I talked about this idea of we are in a spiritual battle. And the Bible doesn't talk about the devil as some guy we go down to hell and party with. He goes around like a roaring lion seeking who he can devour. Jesus says he comes to seek, kill, and destroy. I said that verse and I said, doesn't that sound familiar to everyone? And I said, so what's cool though is in the midst of all this, and I think you were right when you said he's working harder now, we are seeing spiritual renewal happening in pockets of the country right now. And so I told our church, where God moves greater, so does the enemy. So these are the things that we need to be prepared for, to fight back with, and we need to expect them. And I just taught our church, here's what it means to fight back. Here's what it means to stand in that. And so there is a category, and that we have a spiritual enemy, and what happens in the spiritual determines what happens in the physical. And we got to start in the spiritual.
Yeah, I mean, it's
heavy.
It's heavy, and
we can see it now. That's the thing that even makes it worse.
Right.
I mean, you could see.
There's a visual.
You saw the murder and the assassination. You saw the woman. I mean, it's brutal.
You know, social media, boy, it's a wild thing. I am a firm believer that we were never meant to watch a woman get stabbed in the neck and bleed out on a train, and then with the swipe of a finger be laughing at something funny. I'm not sitting here trying to say social media is causing all of mental health problems, but don't tell me that's not screwing people up, because
we know it is.
How research,
do we do
that?
All this research is. It's interesting you say that. When I was on sabbatical, one of the things I did was I was doing research on technology and our mental health. Just doing some research on that. Actually, what you're saying is true. They're finding that to be more and more the case. It's not the sole thing, okay?
Sure.
So don't hear me on that. But as they look at some of the spikes, like they go back to 2007. Well, what came out in 2007? The iPhone did. And so they go into all these different things where emotionally, especially kids and all that stuff, they aren't prepared for that. And as adults, we aren't emotionally to experience, oh my goodness, that's not it. And then after a while, we become calloused. All that stuff begins to take place where we just aren't prepared to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah, and it just makes, obviously it makes things real because we can watch things that we never had access to before, but it's, something else kind of on a scientific level is I feel like it really, and it's probably part of the reason that it's part of the mental health thing, but it's just dopamine, right? So it's
an addiction.
It is 100% an addiction. It is just release, and then you stop. And then life sucks because the dopamine's gone. You're just doing a normal thing of making your coffee now, or dressing your kids for school or whatever. And we are losing, total rabbit trail here, but we are losing the beautiful aspects of life. Like whatever that is, making your morning coffee, getting out of bed and smelling your morning coffee. And that so you've probably heard this if you've listened to some of the other podcasts, but I've done something on my phone that has probably offended a lot of people, and I'm sorry if you're one of those people. But a few months ago, I noticed that one of my good friends and cousin, every time I texted him, it was always like, he's in Do Not Disturb, and you can't reach him. And I'm like, what an ass. Like, I want to talk to you. Why can't I talk to you, right?
Yeah, on your terms.
And then he came on the podcast, and we started talking about it, and he told me, he's like, I have a sleep mode that is on all the time. And there's like 4 or 5 people who aren't on it that I know, like, I need to talk to them if they want to talk to me, right? So wife, whatever, dad, whoever. And I'm like, that is genius. So I do that now. From 5 to 5, basically, my phone is on. So when I get out of bed and by the time I'm going into work, 6 o'clock or whatever, I turn it off, right? But when 5 o'clock, that gets turned on. So if you ever text me at night and I don't respond and you see a little sleepy thing, I didn't get it. And geez, has that been amazing. Like, it waits till morning. Because if it's really important, they'll get, like, so if somebody calls, like, twice in 3 minutes, it pushes it. So, like, if it's an emergency. But if not, every Instagram notification, every Facebook notification, every Snapchat tweet, whatever, email, it all waits till tomorrow. And it just creates margin for me to not be so glued to my phone at night, you know? Like I we're losing the precious moments of life that is so short, Mark. Like my daughter's 3 one time. Bodhi is 4 months old one time. I am 30 one time. And I never get to do it again. And that is one thing I struggle with.
And you don't know how long you're going to have.
Right. Could be 31. Who knows, right? I mean, geez, more rabbit trails.
Well, it is funny because when you talk about technology and just the dopamine addiction, I find myself, this is interesting. I'll be driving in my car and I'll just be like my hand's got to have something. So I'm like reaching for my phone and I don't even need my phone. And I just catch myself doing it time and time again. I'm like, what is wrong? Why do I have to always be looking at something? I mean, it's just this common thing. So I think what you said is great, especially with families. Set up the boundaries.
Yeah.
Set up the boundaries. And I'm hearing a lot of families doing this because there's being somewhat of a pushback, is take a day and let it be a tech-free day. It's almost like a Sabbath.
Yeah.
Every week. And families that are doing that, they find themselves using their technology less overall. It's really fascinating what's happening.
And it makes sense why, because you start realizing again how beautiful life is.
Mm-hmm. That's right. You connect.
You connect. Like, you know, it's funny. That's actually something that Charlie Kirk always preached about was you have to have a Sabbath. And it can look like a lot of different things for a lot of different people. And I think side note, you know the pastor of Journey semi-well, don't
I do.
you? Kevin and
Good
John
guy.
and all those guys, yeah. So they are pretty heavy on preaching that you need a Sabbath as well. And it's something I just love. And we've started to try to institute that in our family as well. And boy, when you just take a day that is for nothing else but connection, and that's something else that Charlie always said was, you know, when we stop talking, bad things happen. When a marriage stops talking, bad things happen. When a group that are coming together to create a church stop talking, the church no longer exists. When a nation stops talking, like you get to where we're going, and we can't talk when we're like this all the time, you know?
You know, I heard someone say this. I thought this was brilliant. We're not taking a Sabbath from work. We're actually taking a Sabbath for it. In other words, the Sabbath actually is meant to make us more productive, not less productive. And research shows that it does. And as you said as well, as it makes our relationships healthier because it allows us to disconnect and focus on things for one day that really matter. And it really just has an overall effect on our life.
Yeah. It does give you more time, like instantly.
It does.
I mean, I started doing that thing on my phone, and I have time to do a podcast and run a YouTube channel on my phone while having less time on my phone. It's incredible. Like,
you can get done if you're determined.
Yeah. It's crazy. That little screen time thing, everybody needs to have that on your phone.
Dude, that's brutal.
And somehow, I didn't set it up this way, Mark, but I get that notification.
Sunday. Do you get on Sunday?
On Sunday.
I do mine too.
As I'm walking into church. And I always, when I sit down, I pull my phone out just to look at that in church.
I remember when you used to the Ridge, you used to do it all the time.
Yeah,
doing the
well,
messages.
you saw me.
Yeah.
That was
Your
way
fantasy
more,
team.
That was way more than that, Mark. But it's kind of funny. It's like I always felt like God put that specifically
It's
as
on
I
Sunday.
walk into church on Sunday to be like, hey, bud, you know what you could have done with that time? I'm like, geez, you're always there. You're always working, huh? But yeah, social media, obviously, it's something that, you know, it's a hard thing too to talk to with a lot of people. Like my parents, it'd be hard to talk to have this social media, like mental health conversation, just because it's not a thing. Like my mom finally, I think, has a smartphone now, but my dad doesn't, and they're just not really on it much. I think mom has an Instagram now just because she wants to follow our pictures and stuff.
That's
but
right.
I feel like
There's a generational gap.
there's a generational gap, and obviously previous generations had battles with things that I will never understand or be able to fathom having to deal with. But I just think that it's a hard time. As much as it is an amazing time to be alive because of technology, it's a hard time. Like, because of what you see and what you have access to, you know, just recapping back to my podcast with Luke, you know, the horrible things you can get access to like that. And contrary to popular belief, at any age. Because
Oh,
if you
the average age now is 10.
children, like access to whatever you want and stuff that we just one don't need to see and two that we just are not meant to intake that mass volume, you know. So it's rough. Obviously, we talked about a few things you can do to help with that. So unless you have anything else to add about
No, I think one of the things that makes, as you brought up, just what we've all experienced over the last couple of weeks, just the tragedies and death and all that stuff. I think one of the things that makes it so difficult, we talked about we can see it now, but I think one of the things that makes it so difficult is that we've advanced in so many ways, technology, education, physically, health and all that stuff. So when we see something like that, it's like, how can that happen? How can anyone do that? But where we haven't advanced, nor will we, is the human heart. The human heart doesn't go with those things. And so we see that stuff and we're just like, how can that happen? Well, here's the human heart is wicked above all else, according to Jeremiah in the Bible. And it doesn't advance with technology and education. It's not enough. We need more than just that stuff if our heart's going to change. And we're reminded of that over the last couple of weeks. We really are.
Yeah. It's a really good way to put it. And I feel like that is exactly what I felt. You watch this innocent woman get murdered on a train and you legitimately think, how does this happen? How? Well, because people are evil. And it's not like bad things have never happened until this week. Like, obviously, we have been on a roll here of horrible things happening to people who didn't deserve it. But it's like for some reason the last 2 weeks, God has just been really saying to me, like, you have to see how hard the devil is working. Like, you got to turn it up, brother. Like, you're living a pretty good life right now, but you need to get uncomfortable and start doing more because he's not slowing down, but you're just kind of chilling. And it's just like, you can't ignore, like, I can't ignore it. And I don't know exactly what it looks like. I don't know what it all means, but first and foremost, it's just got to mean being bold and not missing an opportunity. And that's tough, especially when you have friends that you want to tell them the most important thing, but you're like, well, I don't know how they're going to take it. And it's like, yeah, but how are you someday going to have to explain to them potentially why you didn't? Like, I don't know if that's something you've ever wrestled with.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes. I think one of the most important things is for most people, their faith journey is a process before they come to know Jesus. And so it's every day, it's, God, how can I be another link in the chain for someone? And it might be a conversation, it might be other things. But how can I be a link in that person's chain so they get closer and closer and closer? And I think no matter what you do in life, you don't have to be a pastor to be used by God. Everyone thinks, well, yeah, actually, when I stepped out of the corporate world and became a pastor, I told people I have less influence now than I did before. I don't have more, I have less. Yeah. Because now people who come to the church, well, they want to be there, even if they're not a Christian yet. Okay, they've chosen to be there. There's curiosity, whatever that may be. Man, when I was working for the Coca-Cola company, man, nobody was. And then there I was, and it was like, okay, God, how do you use me here? And I just realized that this was where God had me, because it was more than just selling carbonated soda water.
Yeah.
It was, God, how can you use me in people's lives where they are right here and be in the trenches with them? And man, I tell you what, I loved it. Yeah. I loved it because people are looking for safe people to have these type of conversations with. Does that person really care? Does that person really love me? Is he going to judge me if I don't agree? All that stuff. They're looking for that because you can hardly find, if you print something on social media, everyone's going to jump and make comments and there's going to be all sorts of stupid stuff.
Right.
But in real life, they're looking for safety. And they're looking for, is it okay if I ask my questions? Hey, is this going to sound stupid? Hey, are you going to, no, man. Hey, let's talk about it. They're looking for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if you read the Bible, Jesus didn't live his life smashing everybody over the head either. Like,
He did, the religious leaders.
well, yeah, the people who needed smashed in the head, I guess. But
Hey, do you know why he smashed them in the head so much? It's because one of the things that angered Jesus the most is when people put up barriers to God. And when people put up barriers to God, oof,
it's scary.
they felt his wrath. I'll tell you that.
Bad place to be.
Bad place to be.
Bad place to be.
Bad place to be.
It's kind of cool seeing God fired up, but I just
It
hope
is
it's
pretty
not
sweet.
against me.
It is pretty
It's
sweet.
pretty cool to read.
Everyone
but
has this. Everyone has this. Like, they have those pictures of Jesus where he's
Right.
just like, oh, and you'd be like, I don't know if I'd want to hang out with that dude. But then when you see, like, he was a carpenter and all. Dude was probably really built.
Yeah.
And you see him, he's making a whip and whipping stuff and turning over tables and he's
Right.
ripping people and he's got sarcasm and all that stuff. It's like, man, I bet you he is just the coolest.
I'm pretty sure he is.
He
Yeah.
is, man. I
I'm
mean,
pretty
it's
sure
just
he is.
it's just awesome.
Yeah. It's I don't know. I can't imagine, like I said earlier, I can't imagine having a life that doesn't have him in it, because especially at times like this, when a lot of things don't make sense, he makes sense. And it's crazy, you start leaning back into the simple things, the simple passages in scripture, and they just come alive. It's like, it's the most cliche thing, but everybody's always like, God never gets farther away from you. You get farther away from him, right? Accurate, right? But we're just tired of hearing it. But it's accurate. But it's so true. Like, the Bible is so freaking cool when you start reading it and realize, like, he legitimately wrote a verse for this, and he wrote a verse for that. And that weird little thing that I didn't think he cared about, well, he wrote a verse for that. Like, it's so
Okay,
cool.
I've got something for you now, though. This
Yeah.
is, you may not know this. Guess what is the most highlighted passage in all the Bible?
I feel like it's the one about, I know the plans I have for you.
No,
No?
we're talking about mental health, right?
Yeah.
It's Philippians 4, 6, and 7. Do not be anxious for anything, but in everything, and you just read it, and it's a passage on anxiety,
Wow.
and it is the most highlighted passage in the Bible now.
And he put that there.
It's a great passage.
Yeah,
Great
is.
passage.
it is. So, back to the mental health thing. So, obviously my wife had her own battle, and then, we haven't got a chance to sit down and talk a lot about my own, but roughly a year and a half ago, probably, I started struggling pretty decently. Lost a really close friend. Definitely made things worse. And then a lot of things after that just kind of spiraled. I am going to do a podcast, specifically a solo, just kind of going in depth into what I'm learning, some tips that I'm learning, some things I'm doing to try to get better. But a quick overview of what my struggles are mainly is, I would say it's a hard one to explain, but how I rationalize time. I really struggle with time. And that one started when I lost my friend. I wanted to rip every clock off the wall. Like, time pissed me off immediately. I never had enough of it, and I always wanted more of it. And everything I did felt stupid. Like, it's the hardest thing to explain. Like, all of a sudden, work felt stupid. Everything felt dumb. It felt pointless. Like, if this is not for my wife and my kids or the people that I love, why am I doing it? Everything felt dumb. Getting gas felt dumb. Like, everything made me mad that wasn't specifically enjoying time with people. And that's tough. It's a tough way to try to live your life. So that's one. And that one I think has gotten a little better on its own. But that's a struggle. And then another one would just be Cassie says it better than me, but self-degradation, I think, is the fancy term. Basically means for being a little bit of an ass to yourself. Just really negative towards me. Like, I am negative towards me. I'll build anybody else up. Even if there's not a reason, I'll find one. I love building people up. Like, have you ever heard of the book Chazone? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So, John from Journey.
Craig Rochelle wrote it.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah. John from Journey encouraged me to read it, so I did. And come to find out, long story short, you go through this book, and it basically is trying to help you find your vision, because that's what that fancy word means. And mine is basically to bring others up. Like, I am trying to go up, and my job is to take people with me.
You have the gift of encouragement.
Correct. So, which makes a lot of sense, because I do love encouraging people. And I think that it's weird, and even my first therapy session, like, I sound so confident when you speak to me. And some of that is because I took a lot of speech classes in college, because I was going to be a pastor, funny enough. A lot of voice and diction and learning how to talk. And a lot of it is I am confident in my ability. So swinging a hammer, shooting a 3, shooting my bow, killing a turkey. I'm very confident in my abilities. I am learning I have no confidence in what the wheels are doing upstairs. And that's why when I tell people that I'm struggling with mental health over not having confidence and making feeling like I'm screwing everything up and like I'm behind and I'll never catch up and I'm making bad decisions. When I tell people that, they legitimately think I'm lying to them. Like, Drew, you're the most confident person I know. Like, you annoy me with how confident you are. Like, a lot of people say cocky more than confident, believe it or not.
Yeah, I would attest to that.
You would agree to
Attest
that, right? So people are like, no shot. But it's like, absolutely. Like, when you strip all of that away, when you strip away the guy who's like, oh, you can't do it? Watch this, which is what I love doing.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy who doesn't believe it. And it's a weird one. And I think I confused my therapist right out of the gate, because he's like, yeah, you're like really confident. And I'm like, yeah, I have no confidence. And he's like, And I was kind of like, oh boy. But yeah, it's a weird thing to try to rationalize in your mind, when on one foot I feel like I'm doing the best I can, but then it's like I try to explain it to him as legitimately I feel like there's a good Drew and a bad Drew. And this Drew is like, you're a good dad, you are doing your best, and this Drew is like
Judges you.
the worst human you could imagine.
He judges you.
Like, your kids are going to hate you, you're not present, you're always busy. Like, he's a real, don't like this guy. But I believe that stuff a lot of time. And I guess what I'm trying to do and what I'm working towards through therapy is, the hard stuff's never going to stop coming, right, Mark?
That's right.
People are going to get murdered. Houses are going to keep getting expensive. Time is not going to get more available to me. I have to learn how, when he starts yapping, how to shut him down and let God's word and the truth flood over his voice. And admittedly, he wins 80% of the time in my mind. And it's rough when 20% of the time you feel like you're doing right, So that's a lot to throw at you, but yeah, speak towards those.
Yeah, I think that's so good. So I've been in counseling for 5 years, I think, 6 years maybe even. And I have two things on that. One is what I have learned, because whether it be some of the wounds that we experience early on or even later on, you said you lost a close friend. And we often don't know how to deal with that or deal with those wounds, is that they just accumulate after a while. So we form what's called a judge voice. Now, some of it I think is the accuser, as he's called. So he accuses, because it's often the opposite of what God has gifted us to do, or the truth of who we are in him. If you notice that, it's the opposite. And so you were like, well, that can't be of God. It's like, hey, I love encouraging people. Hey, you suck. Okay, well, it's like, wait a minute. All right. He's trying to keep us from stepping into God's purposes for our life. Well, he's gifted you in that way, and so of course he's going to go. But it's a judgment voice. It's always a judgment and accusing voice, and so you got to recognize that right away. So I've learned to recognize that over time. He's like, oh, you judge yourself. Like, I judge myself very harshly. So the insecurity thing I can relate to very much. Every time I get done speaking, I feel like the worst person in the world. I just go, that was awful. People don't like you. That didn't make a difference. That didn't land it. God could. I mean, it's just nonstop. It really is. And so, yeah, a part of that is the accuser, and a part of that is some of the wounds. He's using those, and he's got the judgment voice. The second thing I just did this, and I walked our staff through this. You'll like this. So when I was on sabbatical, I finally stopped whining about my problems. And yeah, I'm not saying you're whining, okay? But I was a whiner.
I whine.
Okay, all right. But I was like complaining about why this God and why that, and why do I keep struggling with this, and why do I keep struggling with that? And I really felt like God was saying, why are you complaining when you don't take ownership of it? And I was like, ooh. He goes, in other words, he goes, stop with the surface level stuff and dig in and do the work. And if you dig in and do the work, you'll experience the breakthrough of the promises that I've given you. And I'm like, oh, okay. So what I did was I went through, and I took our staff through this. I went through and I asked myself a couple questions of like, hey, what are 2 or 3 sins I struggle with nonstop? What are 2 or 3 wounds that I think that I have that I've been struggling with nonstop? And then how has God gifted me? And I wrote some of these things down. And then here's what I did. I wrote out 5 declaration statements based on those answers. And then I wrote them out, and then I put passages underneath them, maybe 1 or 2 verses that relate to it. And I read them almost every morning. I don't get them every morning, but almost every morning. And then I memorize those passages. Because that's one of the things I don't do hard. I don't do enough. Once again, how do we counteract the accusations in our mind? Well, we got to counteract that stuff. I tell you what, Drew, it's been life-giving for me. Because now when I hear them, it's like, hey, you're this. Hey, wait a minute. Hey, you're not forgiven for that stuff. Hey, what? And then I'll just start to spit it out. I'll say the declaration. I'll say the verse that goes along with it. And all of a sudden the voice quiets. And it makes sense now, because what did Jesus do in the wilderness when he was tempted? He counteracted it with truth. And he had it up here. And so it's just been, those 2 things have been really life-giving for me. But I had to take ownership of it. Am I totally better? No. Do I have a long way to go? Yep. But I feel like I've taken a step finally. I really have.
It's interesting that you say that about memorizing scripture, because I really feel like for the last month, God has just been driving his finger into my chest saying, like, you complain. It's literally what you said. Like, you complain about feeling like you can't win this battle, but you're not taking my words and hiding them in your heart like I told you to. Like, when this battle comes, do you want to know why you hear your stupid voice? Because you don't know mine. And it's like,
that's well said.
Wow. Yeah, sorry. I don't, like, so just, yeah, I guess that's something we could both encourage people to do is read the Bible. And, I don't know. Don't read the Bible, actually. You heard it here first, folks. Don't read the Bible.
Not from me, but from Drew, but go ahead.
Yeah, from me. Don't read the Bible. Don't sit down and read the Bible cover to cover this month. Find 4 verses that apply to your life and read those this month. Like, the Bible is not meant to be a check off your list. Like, how many times have you read this? I don't care if you learn 1 book of the Bible in your whole life. If that meets those needs, like,
it's not how much.
Right. Just
it's what?
Get a couple verses and keep them in front of you. I have one on my screensaver, and it's like, sure, I'd rather look at myself drawing a bow back, but now every time I turn on my phone, you see a Bible verse, right? And it helps with the cockiness thing too. But I don't know. Sometimes it sounds, again, cliche, like God gave the answers to so many things, and he, don't be anxious. Like, there's a verse for that. So imagine the next time I'm feeling anxious, instead of, oh my gosh, I'm broke, I'm never going to be able to afford a house, blah, 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 blah. Imagine, instead of that, like, you suck, you need to make more money, you suck. What if I just heard, do not be anxious?
And then here's what to do with that.
And then here's
right.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's so well said, Drew. And, a part of the work, as we've been talking about this, might be, hey, for some, it's okay to go talk to a counselor. And when I tell people about counseling, especially men, we're a little bit more stubborn,
Very
prideful. Whatever you want to call it. Not me, of course, but
yeah,
others.
never.
Yeah,
You're a
course,
pastor.
yeah.
You can't
I can't be.
You
prideful.
can't be. The two P's don't go together.
Yeah, I would never deal with that. What I always tell them, and I always say, if you're looking for a quick fix, most of the problems we dealt with have been with us for years. They ain't going away overnight. So find a counselor and give it at least 5 sessions. Don't leave there after session 1. Well, that didn't do anything. Well, of course they're not doing anything.
Right.
You got to fact find. Okay, you haven't gotten your MRI yet, and you just gotta keep pressing in. After 5 sessions, ask your counselor. Just go, what are you seeing? And if your counselor doesn't have any answer, go find another one. All right. But if he goes or she goes, hey, I think I'm seeing this, and here's why, keep leaning in. Keep leaning in.
It's good advice. And I'm just starting, so.
It's hard because it's below the hood, of our heart. And we're not really good at going below the hood. But man, once you get under that thing and you see what's underneath there and get that cleaned out and all that stuff and how much better you will run, quote unquote, because of it, it's worth the work. It really is. It's worth it because we live our lives out of our heart.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. I mean,
so you want to have a healthy heart.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just look physique good like I do here. I mean, you just can't have that,
Right.
as you know.
Right.
I mean,
yeah. I mean,
as you know,
we all can't look like
yes,
you
all
It's-
can't. But it is, man. You a healthy heart, a healthy everything else.
Yeah. What are you putting in? That's the I love our pastor. I love you too, but I love our pastor. He's Kevin. I mean, just he has this ability. I'm gonna brag on him for a second to take something extremely complicated and just hit you square in the mouth with it in the most simple way possible, right? And he was talking about the, basically the garbage in, garbage out principle, right? And he just has 2 trash cans up there. It's like
I've done
throwing
the same
trash
thing,
in.
but-
Have you? Oh, it must have been before
You
my
weren't
time.
listening.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was on my phone. We
Yes.
talked about
Yes,
this. We talked
but go
about
ahead.
this. But, just you realize like how,
That's a great visual,
Right?
Because that's really what
Did
it
you
is.
do the recycling bin one?
No, I said
Where
2
God
cans.
recycles things?
No. Oh, I like that.
Classic.
Oh, did he have the recyclable bin?
Yeah,
I like that.
He had one with recycling, and he was throwing things in it like this and that. And he's like, but this one, he took the other bag and like threw it off the stage. Like that's what God does with your trash. But then this one was recycling. He's like, you know what he does with this one? He would like pull something nice out of it. Like he takes it and recycles
Oh,
it.
that's so good.
And I'm like, oof,
That's so good.
Yeah.
He's good, man. He's the real deal.
he's awesome. But yeah, I think that I hope that this is something that a lot of people can relate to as far as us talking about mental health. Like I said, I am going to do an episode and dive in a little deeper. I kind of want to get some therapy under my belt first and just like
Good idea.
see how things are going before I talk about it more. I mean, when I say I haven't talked about my mental health, I mean, there's 2 people who know I struggle up until now. And that is my wife and my dearest friend in South Carolina, Brendan. And those have been the only people I've ever told because it's hard. And it's hard when some of it affects people as well because they're a part of it, maybe not a good part of it. That's also hard because it's like, you start airing other people's stuff out there. And I hate sounding whiny. And for the longest time, I thought it was whiny to talk about it, which again is just something you learn growing up that you're taught, right? I always felt whiny, like, oh, poor me, I'm struggling. And so I never wanted to show that like I am, but
And people think you're weak.
correct. And that was always the thing is I don't want to look weak. I need to be strong. I'm a dad, I'm a husband, and I'm weak right now. And my wife knows it. And she knows that I am not mentally where I need to be as a dad and where I will be someday, hopefully. But she loves me more. She supports me more. She's standing in the gap and helping more. Like all the things I feared would happen when I said, hey, I ain't right in the head. None of them happen. Like, which one? Find an amazing godly woman if you can. Big plug for that.
I would agree. Don't settle.
Yeah, do not settle. But just, I don't know, that she has been so good. She obviously wants me to be better. It's all she wants. Just like all I wanted when she was struggling was to feel better, good days ahead. And it's funny, you listen to that podcast, but the whole time she was struggling, we just kept saying, I cannot wait until we get through this and we are looking back and talking about what God did and telling people what God did. And sure enough, if we weren't doing a podcast about it, which that wasn't a thought during any of that, we were doing a podcast telling people what God did. which is exactly what happened. God did it. Like, we didn't know what to do anymore. Like, she was doing therapy, not to tell her story, but doing therapy, doing everything she can in the Word all day, every day, if necessary, just fighting demons, Mark. Just attack, spiritual attack. And God did it. Only God did it. I mean, therapy helped for sure. She still talks to her, great therapist, but God just brought her out of it in a way that I have never really seen him tangibly do in someone's life up until that point. Because I wasn't looking, but
Yeah, you know what's interesting when I hear that? First off, that is so great that you guys did it together on a podcast. Two is whether it be God takes it away, sometimes he doesn't. But one of the things you did experience in that is shame loses its power when it comes to the surface, when it's confessed or revealed. It always does. We know we're experiencing shame when we feel like we got to withdraw, avoid, or hide. That's what we do. I can't say that. Can't let anyone know that. I can't. And then we have some justification for it. And then what happens is that feeling of shame gets larger. It spreads. But once it's brought to the surface, it loses its power. So shame, it disconnects when we connect. Every time. And part of it, I'm sure, was she brought it out.
Yeah.
And she brought it out in this channel. And God's like, okay, here we go. There you go. Or in the Bible, it says, therefore, confess your sins to one another. And it's not a sin. Okay, so don't hear me in that. But it's the idea of confessing, bringing it out to the open. And you will be healed. And it doesn't say confess it to God. But those things, like I said, mental health is not a sin. But it's this idea of when we with one another are willing to open up and bring it to the surface, God starts to work.
Right.
And obviously he's using it in your wife.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's why therapy helps, right? Because you just got to get it out.
That definitely is the case.
You got to talk
and talk to someone close to you.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. There is something to be said for obviously being careful who you have those conversations with. Don't just find a random person and talk to them. But it's something you have to get out, whether it's your social media algorithm or whatever it is, you got to get out of your own head to beat this stuff, in my opinion. Like, we get so in our own thoughts. My wife is a genius. Now, she didn't come up with this. Maybe she did. I don't know. She probably did. She's pretty great. We saw it on a bumper sticker, so I'm starting to think she did.
Of course.
But I learned it from her. She always says, Drew, imagine if every thought you think isn't true. Which is really hard for me. But seriously, imagine if everything we think isn't true. Like, we got to get out of our head, man, because when you get in this echo chamber up here, like, we talk about like social echo chambers, right? Well, first of all, the biggest one's right here, and we live in it 24/7. So, like, how do you wake up and teach yourself to live a life where you are not well, boy, one of my favorite humans, Joe Rogan, talks about how your thoughts are just your thoughts. Like, they're not always you. Like, you are not always your thoughts.
That's right.
And boy, have I learned that to be truth. Now, he's been saying it for a long time, but do not let your thoughts become your identity, because you are not your thoughts. You're you. You are you. You are who God made you to be. Trying to figure out how to do that. Trying to figure out how to live a life where I can have a thought that I hate. But in that moment, how do I have the thought I hate and still be the good dad, good husband that I truly believe I am, and that my wife tells me I am, and whatever else? How to live a life where you have those two things that coexist at the same time and don't have a complete mental breakdown. Like, when you have those thoughts, learning to, like, not let your thoughts define you is kind of where I'm at.
There's a shameless plug here for Craig Rochelle, who's a pastor of, I think, the largest church in the country.
Great guy.
Yeah, you know him?
Personally, yeah. We're best friends.
Sure you do. But
I've read enough of his books, I should.
He is. And he has a book called Winning the War of the Mind. I think that's what it's called, I think, or close to it. It is so great. And he has this phrase, think about what you think about, track it. And he says, because at the end of the day, we can actually get to a place where we control what we think about. We think it's completely out of our control. And at first it is, but when you start to actually think about what you think about, it is really cool to begin to see that, hey, we don't have to settle for that. But it does take work, as we talked about. And so I don't know if that completely aligns with your very close friend, Joe Rogan, but I mean,
Close enough.
yeah, it's close enough. But,
Close enough.
But it's this powerful idea. It
Yeah.
really is. So shameless plug, read the book. It's great.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great.
he's got a lot of good books out there. But there is, I will say, on a positive note, there's a lot of resources nowadays, and a lot of good resources.
And there's more coming, I think.
And there's hopefully got to be more coming. If I guess I would say to someone who is, whether you're like me or not, someone who is struggling right now and doesn't know what to do, the first step is find a resource, and that can be anything. First of all, I would say talk to the person closest to you, because that's what I did, and that's what works normally the best, is find the person you trust the most and tell them what's going on. You got to get it out once first, like just get it out there, And for me, it was honestly my friend Brendan before it was my wife, just for the fact that I was, unfortunately, to be honest with you, Mark, I was a little afraid to tell her at first. And she, when I say,
and it's not because you didn't trust her.
No, it's not because I didn't trust her. And we had a long talk about it, but a lot of this stuff I would talk about with him first, just because I kind of wanted to bounce it off of him before I would talk to her about it, to like, dude, tell me.
I'm not crazy.
What are you hearing here?
Yeah, I'm not crazy.
And it always worked out well doing that. But find someone you trust. Find someone who loves you. Not your thoughts. Not who you tell them you are. Find someone who loves who you are. And that is what my wife and Brendan are. They are the person who doesn't love the picture I paint. They love who I am. And they're the people who know that guy. I mean, know him. And if I brag on those two relationships so much, because it's kind of funny. If you put me and Brendan in a room together, it'd be the last two people you would expect to be friends. We could not be more polar opposite, other than, and even in our thoughts, our thought processes are very opposite on a lot of things, but I can't really explain it to you. He gets me, and we kind of chose to be friends when everybody was like, that doesn't make any sense. And we just never looked back after that. But very wise beyond his years. But just can't thank him enough for he's going to be on the podcast one of these days. He lives in South Carolina, so bit of a commute.
A little bit of a commute.
And I refuse to do.
But with the pay you get for being on this podcast,
right? It's phenomenal.
Worth the trip. Yeah.
I mean,
it's worth the trip.
Let me tell you, the perks of being on this podcast, you get some. Yeah, it's real nice. But there's something. I've had a couple people I've wanted to do a podcast with, and they're out of state, and I'm like, we will wait until you can sit in this chair.
It's worth it.
There is something about face-to-face conversations.
It's worth it.
One, from an actual listening perspective, there's no delay, there's no crap like that, but also just there's something about it.
It's worth the wait.
Yeah, so that'll be worth it. But anyways, back to the point. Find someone that you trust, talk to them, open up, and then two, I would love to say find a good church.
I would agree.
Find a good church with people who can love you for you, and not, find a church who lets you not be real churchy until you figure out what in the world that even looks like, which I think the Ridge does a great job of that. Very open,
We use this definition of church now, and this is really because we've done a couple messages on just church hurt, bad experience with church, all that stuff. And the definition of church, we started out with, it's God's dysfunctional family. And then we focus on the dysfunctional stuff. In other words, we're all dysfunctional. So we come in here, and when you put expectations that everybody here should have it all together, that's the exact opposite of what it is. And so when you find a church where you go, can I bring in this stuff? Yeah, you can bring in this stuff.
Yeah.
But this is wrong with me. Yep, I'm addicted to it's okay. It's okay. You belong here.
Yeah.
You're part of this. God's going to work, and he's going to work on you if you let him to. But he does it in community.
Right.
He does it in community.
I mean, it's obvious that is the Ridge's mission, and it's blatant and it's obvious and it's great. Like there has to be places like that.
I love it.
There literally does,
No,
because
there's nothing like it.
There's a lot of churches that person is gonna walk in and walk back out of, and then it's just sad. So you need
I'll have people
churches
F-bomb
like
me after that was the best effing message. I'm like, oh, this is
Yeah,
good.
was
I
probably
like
one
that.
of 'em.
I like. Yeah, that's probably true. I'm like, man, this is awesome. I love this. This is great.
Yeah, it's great. It's fun to see people realize that it doesn't matter. Like, I don't know. There's no, just love God, love each other, and do what's right. Like, obviously do right. Hate evil, do what's right. But there's not. I don't know. We add so many rules and so many stipulations, and God's got to just be like, okay, cool, but do you love me? Like, yeah, nice outfit, but like, do you love me? Like,
I had someone say to me, they were like, you don't dress very nice, and would you go to see the president in that? And I would say, no, but I wouldn't go to see my father in that either. And they're just like, well, that's no, Heavenly Father. I don't have to dress up.
yeah,
I can just come as I am to Him.
yeah,
All that stuff. So, there's nothing like it.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, you guys do a really good job of being that church that is going to be there for anybody who needs a church.
Man, I pray you're right,
And
buddy.
I mean, I do, and we go to a different church now, but the Ridge is doing the Ridge's mission, and they are doing it well. I think that there are other churches who are doing a different mission for a different group of people, and
I think that's a beautiful thing.
that's where you get people going to different churches, but that being said, the Ridge is crushing the Ridge's mission, and I don't want the Ridge to change the Ridge's mission to be what it needs to be for a different group of people. And like you said, that's the beautiful thing, is each church is doing, hopefully, what it was called to do. And
we all have strengths and weaknesses, man. We all do. That's the beauty of it. We need each other. Churches even need each other.
yeah,
They need each other.
absolutely. So I don't like warning people about this question, because it stinks when you do, because then their answer is, lame. But one thing that I love doing to every first-time guest, so when
They're all first-time guests right now.
right,
So that's
right?
great.
My
Thank
buddy
you.
Josh has made 2 appearances, but other than him,
All right, that's fine.
everybody's a first-time guest.
Okay.
You'll probably be back at some point. So, but for the first-time guest, one thing that plays into, I think, a lot of my mental stuff is the idea of success. It's a terrible thing to think about, and it's a great thing to think about some days for me. Some days I love thinking about it, other days I hate thinking about it. And what I've started doing is I ask each first-time guest, in their words, to tell me, so the name of the podcast is The Vital Pursuit, right? So I came up with that name kind of in the midst of my battles. And it's got a little bit of a hunting aspect, the pursuit or whatever, but the main reason it's named that is because I am trying to figure out what is vital. What is vital to me? What makes me tick?
Love the name, by the way.
Yeah, it's awesome. What makes me tick? What is vital to me? What does success look like to me? When this is all said and done, am I doing what's vital? So how do you pursue that, right? This, to me, is a vital pursuit. Conversing with people I respect or love or look up to, or friends, just having a dumb conversation with a good buddy, like, my friends mean everything to me. So this is the start of, like, the name of the podcast is a vital pursuit for me. Like, pursuing conversation with my friends matters. So, Mark, what does a successful life look like when you're 104, shriveled up, laying in their bed?
I don't want to live that long, I don't think, but
I will be.
you will be. Let me give you it's going to sound like the pastor answer, but if I wasn't a pastor, this would be my answer. Okay, so the title hurts me here, but this has really helped shape it for me, and this has been my focus for the last 15 to 20 years. Because success is a broad word. So here's what it is for me. someday I'm going to stand before God and have to give an account of my life. I call it the stewardship question that I think God's going to ask every one of us. And he's going to say, what did you do with the one and only life I gave you? Success for me is after he shows me what that life was and all that stuff that goes with it, that I hope he says, well done, good and faithful servant. So success is faithfulness in what God has entrusted to me. People get nervous sometimes when you talk about that and the idea of judgment, but I always tell people judgment can be one of the biggest blessings that we can have in our life because it means we're accountable. And when you're accountable, it gives purpose to things. If we were not going to be accountable to God for our life, it all of a sudden, what does it matter? It's kind of like if you ever worked in a place where there's no accountability, was that a good work environment? Or did that accountability, if it was healthy, did that elevate things? It's the same thing with our life. So for me, it is, I want to hear those words. Well done, good and faithful servant. And not everybody's going to hear those words. I don't know if I'm going to hear those words. But my prayer is faithfulness is success in God's eyes. Not did you, become VP or president of this, or did you have the biggest church in the area? None of that stuff. I mean, it is, were you faithful with everything that I've entrusted to you? That's what success is for me.
You made it way less churchy, though. That was really good.
I thought some people would think it is, but
No,
for me, it's
no. The way you break it down makes it less of the churchy answer, because those. I think what I like about it is he entrusts so much to us. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that think the only way that God is going to say "well done" is if you flew to Africa and spent all of your days telling unreached tribes about God. Which is great. God entrusted you with a wife and children.
a job.
How are you faithful? God entrusted you with a job. God entrusted you with green stuff in your wallet.
Resources. Gifting.
God
all that.
entrusted you with being an encourager or being good at whatever. So it all comes together, right? And that's when it becomes fun because those are the things that make life so good. Your wife, your kids, your work, your passions, like God cares. I wish I could shake people sometimes and be like, obviously I'm a bow hunter, so I like saying this, but does bow hunting bring you closer to God? Then God cares. Just sitting in a tree.
It doesn't me, but
that's
I
probably
can't. I'd rather poke my eyes out, honestly, than bow
you've
hunt. But
never
go ahead.
bow hunted, clearly.
Nor will I ever, but keep
Yeah,
going.
You also have cats. God cares. Like, if
does.
that little thing brings glory to him and brings, like, shows what he did through you, like, God cares. I just feel like there's so many ways to please God. There's so many ways to be faithful because he's given so much, right? So you can be faithful in so many things. And I guess for a loser like me, well, there goes the negativity, it makes it seem a little more attainable because he's given...
For a son like you?
Yeah, for a son like me. It makes it way more attainable to please my dad because he's given me a lot.
And here's the thing. Part of it is, this is a big part of it, is because we're his son, we live out of that pleasure. We don't earn the pleasure. We live out of it. He's already pleased. And we live out of that pleasure. There's the freedom. Versus I gotta earn God's pleasure. No. You already have it.
Boy, that one's hard.
Live out of it is. But man, once it starts to settle, it's a beautiful thing. Now we're talking identity. Now we're talking freedom. Now we can talk purpose. All those things begin to connect then. Because you'll never discover purpose without identity. You just can't. You'll mix them up every time. That's what we do. We'll mix them up. And we try to find ourselves in those things, in purpose. But it doesn't. We lock into our identity. Man, this is who I am. This is who God, I'm a son of God. And I'm already forgiven and I'm free. And this is who he's already pleased with me. And now I get to walk with him and discover these things. And he is already pleased. Well, there's freedom there. And there is faithfulness and all that. Oh man, are you kidding me? This is great stuff. This is why I can't believe more people don't want to discover the grace of Jesus. It's the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
It's the best thing.
That's definitely one I'm still figuring out for me is like exactly. I would say I don't feel that fully yet. Just because I'm growing and I'm trying to figure it out. There's a lot of times where my thoughts are still like, I don't know. I feel like these are so stupid. Maybe you've had them, but it's like I'll like pray every day, and I'll be like, man, I hope God knows I'm praying like for the right reason.
Well, and here's why. Because
You know?
because everything in our world is set up, including school. And I mean, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but it conditions our mind. It is, it's based on performance.
Yeah.
It's based on
Yeah.
performance. How did I do? What grade did I get? How did
Right.
I do? Okay, so it all, sports, as we talked about.
Right.
People don't celebrate losers.
Right.
The losing team, they celebrate the winning team. And now with God, God's going like, nope, you already won. I won that. And you don't earn this. I've already earned it for you. And now I just want you to live in that freedom. So it's just so counterintuitive. We're like, oh, am I doing enough? Am I good enough? Am I that? And God's going, why are you worried about things that I've already taken care of? Yeah. And it's tough.
Yeah.
But man, is it free.
It's stressful when an achiever cannot be the one who achieved the thing.
Control it, you mean?
The biggest thing, yeah. When it's like, well, yeah, but like, what did I do? Nothing. Boy, it's hard. Even when you know it, and you believe the truth, there's still so many days where I'm just like, man, I hope he understands that, like, I'm not being fake. Like, I really do care. Like, I'm really trying to do right here. And it's like, well, of course he knows. Like, he knows before I know, but it's just.
And he's just going, my son, you're good.
I think he's just saying,
You're
take
good.
a Xanax, bro. Chill.
He is, man. He's just going, what are you worried about? It's good.
Yeah.
I did you can't earn anything. It's good. I always look at it this way. One of the things I've been praying at is like, hey, God, one of the things that's so incredible about this, and I write out all my prayers, I journal them because I can't pray without writing. And there's this thing of your mind can't wander and you write at the same time.
That's true.
So I write. I've been doing that for 20 years. I just write them out. Okay. And
It's a lot of notebooks.
I just throw them away. Trust me, you don't want to read it. The thing that I've been just really praying a lot about is like, God, what's great about this relationship is I bring nothing to the table that you need. Nothing. And that's the case. I bring nothing. You don't bring anything. It's not like God's going like, man, I really need you to. We bring nothing to the table. And that's the beauty of it. We think we can offer God so much. He's going, I don't need that. Right. That's not why this is here. I just want your heart.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what do you say to that. It's beautiful.
It's great.
I pray that for myself, I can learn to fully enjoy that. Like, I know where I'm going when I die, like I believe it 100%. And God gives me so much peace so many days, but I hope I fully learn to embrace that father-son feeling of he's so proud. No, like that idea of I have nothing to give is hard because I love doing things for people. I love helping. I like being the guy you had to call because you need help. Like, I love that. Like, I love helping people with my gifts. So knowing like, yeah, you did that really cool thing today. I don't care. It meant nothing to me.
What, that doesn't mean anything.
But I still love you.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
It's not like God had to go, well, Drew, I can't get this done without you.
Right.
Right. It's like he created the heavens and the earth.
Right.
It's not like he's going, well, man, Drew, I can't. He's good.
Right.
He's good.
Crazy.
He's good. And that's why it's like trying to earn God's approval is futile. It's frustrating. Doesn't have any peace. Nothing.
It's tough.
It's tough.
But it's cool.
It's awesome.
It's so cool.
It's awesome.
It's so cool. Okay, closing statement. Talking about mental health. If the world was your congregation and you got 5 minutes, 2 minutes, however long you want to take, there's no rush. You got a parcel of time to speak to the world as your congregation, whether it be about mental health or whether it be about what's the world looks like right now. If you had your stool to get on for a minute, what would you say?
Well, I think our last exchange was part of what I would love to say. But if we're talking about mental health, and I know I could broaden this a bit, but if I was talking about mental health, I would say this: there's nothing wrong with you. God's not punishing you. Um, God loves you deeply, and He wants to be in the middle of that pain with you. And so step into that with Him. Don't push Him away or don't think otherwise. Mental health and following Jesus can go together, and they do go together. It's okay. No reason to be ashamed. So from a mental health standpoint, hey, I need help. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not a weak person. That's a strong person. A weak person is hiding it and not doing anything about it and thinking they can handle it themselves, because we know where that goes. Strength comes from honesty, vulnerability, confession, and action. So I would say that. Another thing I would say is, as you and I have been talking about, our life matters, and what makes it matter is eternal. Not when we die. The beautiful thing about the Bible is eternity is an experience. We disconnect, our culture disconnects. We live this life and we go to the next life. But in the Bible we see, and Jesus talks about that, eternity is this: knowing God. And we can do that now. And so eternity is, I start to know God in this life, and then I experience that in its fullness in the next. Mm. And it's a beautiful thing. It adds purpose, it gives you your identity, and it gives you the freedom that we're all screwed up, but we don't have to stay that way. That God has taken our screw ups and sin on the cross, paid for it. We can be freed from it, and we can learn how to walk and learn. It's a learning thing. We can take all that dysfunction, and now we can finally learn to walk as being sons and daughters of the King that we were created to be. Don't settle for anything less than that.
That's great. I've never heard eternity put like that. I love that.
John 17:3.
I love that.
Eternal life is knowing God.
I love that.
Yep, it's not disconnected. That's why no one will stand before God and go, I didn't know who you were. Oh man, it's my first time meeting you. We meet Him now. And we get to know Him now. And then that relationship develops in its fullness when we die.
That's great. Follow-up last question.
Yeah.
Same situation. The world's your congregation. Mm-hmm. In the face of seemingly overwhelming evil right now, in the face of seemingly glorifying death on some instances, in the face of a culture that seems hopelessly at each other's throats. I mean, tough, real life crap we're all dealing with right now. In the face of your neighbor potentially legitimately wishing you were not existing anymore because you think differently. Because one of you is standing on something biblical in some instances, and how about that? In the face of just standing up for right. Like, not, well, kind of right. Like, God said this right. In the face of trying to do that in this world, a world that doesn't want it because they don't want God, what the heck do you say to that?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. There'll be a lot of Christians that don't agree with some of what I'm going to say here. I always tell people this: we're not called to be God's attorney. We're called to be witnesses. So where Christians, where we get into trouble is where we start to speak into culture about things that culture has not bought into. And so we yell and scream and complain about culture, and we expect them to be acting in a certain way, and they haven't signed on for that yet. So I always use this analogy. I always say it's like if I was a gym membership and you didn't have a gym membership, which is probably true because you can see the difference. Yeah. And I looked at you and I said, haven't seen you in the gym in a while. And you go, I don't have a gym membership. And I go, I haven't seen you there. Where have you been? And you're like, I don't have a gym membership, dude. And I keep complaining that you're not there. All right. The church does that. We do that in a lot of ways. Now, I'm not talking about there's a time for we got to protect the vulnerable and justice and all that stuff. But all the division and stuff like that, what are we expecting? We're expecting culture to act like they're following Jesus and he's transforming their lives, and he's not, because they haven't signed on for that. And so a part of it is an expectation issue, which most people don't like. Well, we should be, yeah, you know how we change culture? We go in and be salt and light in culture. Yelling and complaining isn't going to do it. Getting mad ain't going to do it. Posting things on social media, you're losing your influence. What are you doing? You know, it's just common sense, wise, elevating above all that and doing what Jesus has called us to do and step in and not putting expectations on culture that they didn't sign up for. That is a big, big no-no. The other thing I would say is the way that the interesting thing about Jesus is, and the challenging thing about Jesus is, we see stuff, we see division and all that stuff, and we see railing and we see horrible things. Like, we even saw, people happy about someone getting shot, and, we see all that stuff, okay? First off, we need to see past that, not saying that's okay. Okay, so when you hear me this, we need to see past that and go, man, that person's made in the image of God, but obviously their heart is far from God. And we need to begin to go, our reaction is, well, I need to correct their behavior. Versus we need to go in and we need to get them in a place and pray for them to be in a place where God gets their heart. And then that'll change their behavior. So for me, it is wrong expectations, wrong tactics and approaches that the church often does and that we often do. And at the end of the day, if we read the Bible in its fullest, it ain't getting better. Now, I'm not saying that to be fatalistic. And a lot of times Christians, they get scared when you start talking about the end. I don't know when the end is. Okay, so I'm not like, hey, the end is good.
Right.
I don't know. But Christians get scared about that. And I'm like, what are you afraid of? We should celebrate that. And then I always say, here's my advice for Christians that think, are we in the end? I don't know. I mean, every day's closer. I always say this: stay alert, stay faithful, stay on mission, and you'll be great. You'll be fine. Focus on those three things. Quit focusing on all the outside stuff that we can't control. Be a part of the solution by being salt and light, but stay alert, stay faithful, stay on mission, and you'll be fine. So my approach to some of that stuff, people don't like, because we love to get sucked into the fray. Stay out of the fray. Elevate. Yeah, well, that person did. Okay, what did you expect? And don't get caught up in that, because you'll lose your influence over what matters. And being right isn't what matters the most. We think it does. Our opinions on social media now have been elevated above everything else. Mm-hmm. That's why I hardly post about that stuff unless I try to elevate, and I encourage our church to. Because we've now looked at our opinion and said it's the most important thing. My opinion doesn't matter. What matters is that person knowing Jesus in their heart. Yeah, but they're doing this. Okay. I'm not accountable. I'm not accountable for what they do. I'm accountable for going, man, that person's made in the image of God. Jesus says to love your enemies, pray for your enemies, do good to those who hurt you. Not fight back, not post back, not claim you're right, not all that stuff. And so, like I said, my answer isn't popular, but my answer, I believe, from Jesus in some parts, and the other parts are my own. Break the cycle that all the other stuff continues to perpetuate, that we don't like, and then we wonder why things aren't changing. Because we are adding to it. We're not breaking it. So
yeah,
that ends the sermon for the...
Yeah.
But it's true.
Yeah. I mean, that's a hard one, and it's a hard one for me.
It's a hard one for me. I get pissed watching some of that stuff. You know, some of the people that attend the rich, I'll see stuff and I'll go like, "What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Why are you getting sucked into that? Just to win an argument?
Yeah.
Who cares?
It's hard.
Well, I got to be right. Who cares?
Yeah.
You're not right, because you're not treating them right.
Yeah.
And in Jesus' eyes, treating them right is more important than being right.
Yeah.
And that's the mistake.
Yeah. Yeah, the arguments on social media are obviously pointless. I think the hard thing that I'm struggling with right now is how, like, I feel like there has to be more people standing up for God. And I don't mean standing up for this or that or whatever. I mean people standing up and just proclaiming God's truth. And I guess I'm trying to figure out, like, that is no longer a negotiable in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I am learning that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to accept that there are going to be some consequences, quote unquote, of that.
Yeah, there's pushback.
So I'm trying to figure out exactly what that's going to look like, and I don't know. But I guess the days of there being any type of a middle ground on where I stand with God is over.
You know,
And
people. You know what our culture needs? I just thought of this. I don't know if this is good or not, but it needs less preachers and needs more missionaries.
yeah,
That's what'll change culture.
yeah. I mean, I think we need people doing it, living it. You know.
And living on mission into it, where that mess is, what we were talking about. They need to go there,
Yeah.
and within our own context here, and be willing to go into that fray and mess. Because here's the thing: the easiest thing to do is for me to proclaim.
Yeah.
The hardest thing for me to do is get into the trenches with the mess.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's a mess.
It's a mess.
It's a mess.
It's
And
a mess.
that's the thing, is nobody wins in that mess. Nobody wins when it starts becoming, I want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the only way through this is God's right being the truth that is proclaimed and what wins, right? Like, in my mind, that's the only way you win. That is the only way that you speak something that is actually helpful in this, is if it is what God would speak, you know? And it's so right or left, it's so this, and it's like, okay, but if we just do God's stuff, it's going to be right. Like, it's going to be correct.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be careful with saying right, because people think you mean right. It will be correct. If we stand up for God's principles, then you are going to do the culturally correct thing, because it's God's principle. Now, it may not be viewed that way, but you don't have to worry about if that was along party lines, or if that was along your friend group's lines, or God forbid if that was along your church's lines. If you do what God wants and what God said in his word, it will transcend the cultural stuff we're dealing with. And I'm trying to figure out how to do that. And I know it's not going to be easy, but
It's not supposed to be.
that is what I
grace
want.
and truth. Grace and truth, which that's what we're called to live in, grace and truth. It's messy.
Right.
Because what does that mean to live in the gray of that? That's really hard, but man, it's worth the wrestling.
Right.
And we'll mess up, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
And it's what our culture needs. It
Yeah.
really does. They need to experience grace, and they need to experience truth,
Right.
but they need to experience both.
Yeah. It's a tough combo, because you want to just freaking truth bomb
Well,
everybody.
you're either lean grace or truth.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, that's the tough.
Yeah.
But man,
tough.
we got to figure that out, and we got to wrestle with that. And so, so when I see that stuff, and it's predictable. Here's the thing: it's predictable. We're going to go through another season of this, unfortunately. We're in next year there'll be another election, and it'll be anger and fear on both sides. And then, hey, one side will be, hey, we got to keep power. In fact, we need to gain it. The other one, same thing. We need it, and it'll just in 28, and it'll keep cycling, and so it's the same predictable thing. And we just got to elevate to go, this isn't the solution. And that'll help us elevate. Otherwise, we will get into that fray, and then it's like, oh, we got what we wanted. Hey, but how come it's not working?
Right.
And then we'll get frustrated, and then something's wrong, but we just need more of it. Oh, I guess we need more. It's the same predictable cycle.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And I'm not saying leaders aren't important, and
Right.
I'm not saying any of that.
Of course, yeah.
But I'm just saying, when that's the drive, and we think that's the solution, we're going to be gravely disappointed.
Yeah. Well, I think that's even that is the switch that I feel like is happening in my mind, is I'm so tired of feeling like, well, this is going to help, or well, that's going to help, or that's certainly not going to help.
It's well said.
Like, I'm so tired of having faith in all of these things that are supposed to help. Like, I don't, and then obviously there's moments in life and history where certain things happen and it's like a snap, right? My friend dying, snap. Now I understand that how valuable time is. So now I'm going to stop wasting it, right? For me, watching someone who proclaims God get shot in the neck on TV, hard snap. Something has to change. Like, the first thing my wife said to me was, "This changes everything." And in the moment, I knew exactly what she meant without even asking her. She meant this changes everything for our family. We cannot not proclaim anymore. Like, this has to be a defining moment for us where we say, it's God's truth now. It's not what's popular. Everybody might be going this way. But if God is going this way, I'm going that way, bro. And again, I don't know what this looks like, but I know that's where we have to go. And it was amazing how we both knew it. Like, again, she didn't have to explain what that meant. I knew what that meant. Things are different. And maybe that would have happened 10 years from now if that moment didn't happen. I don't know. But things just happen and things snap. And it's like, it's never been more clear to me that I'm done with all the other stuff. I am going to try to relentlessly pursue truth, relentlessly pursue God. And whatever that looks like, I don't know. A little scary. But that's what we're going to pursue in this house and with this family and with my wife and with my kids. And maybe it'll be terrible, Maybe, I don't know. Like, maybe we'll lose all our friends. Maybe everything will fall apart. But that's okay, because I know what won't fall apart, Mark. And I'm so tired of feeling like everything could collapse around me if I say the wrong thing and I'm going to lose all. I don't care, because God will not. If I stick to him like glue, no matter what, no matter who I offend, he will not leave as long as I stick close to him. And now that's a hard thing to do because he's perfect and I'm me. But, like, that's all I want. And that's what I want for my family. And it's never been more clear now in my life, for some reason, by current events, that is where we're going.
Yeah, I think you said that so well when you said, these other things aren't working, or I think you said, try these, somewhere along that line. Yeah, you're tired of it, which is the point. And I think that's why we're seeing this Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Are you Gen Z?
I have no idea what that even means.
Yeah,
so
generation
probably.
you're in. Yeah, you probably are.
Yeah.
But that's why we're seeing in droves them turning to God right now. And a part of it is exactly what you said. This ain't working. And they're watching like, I don't want any part of that.
Right.
And so they're turning away from that. I think it's so cool to see. The other thing is that, what happened with Charlie Kirk and in the environment and all that stuff, one of the tough things is that we go as Christians, how could that happen to someone proclaiming God? And it's horrible and it's awful. And Erica and her two kids, I mean, it's just terrible to think about. But here's what I tell people, and I like to hear this. You do know we follow a Savior who was crucified.
Right.
And so the question that we ask, like, how could that happen to someone who, did this? It's like, that's part of the deal. I'm not saying that in that exact same thing, but that's part of the deal. We give our life away. And sometimes it's horrible with what we saw last week, but we give our life away because we follow one who did as well. That's part of the deal. And it's not a bad thing.
Right.
It's actually a really good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, you got to be willing to lose some stuff, if that's what it takes. I don't know.
Well, you actually find in losing, you gain.
You gain, correct. Right. But it doesn't feel like that at
no,
first.
not at first.
Right. It doesn't feel like that at first.
No, not at all.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a lot of random rants there.
That's really good.
That's what's in my head, That's what
really
I'm
good
feeling.
stuff.
And like I said, I don't know exactly what all the details look like, but I just know that the woman and the kids in that door deserve to have a dad and a husband who leads them towards God and tries not to be concerned with what bumps that might mean. But like, we'll deal with the bumps, but we have to relentlessly pursue him, or we're not going to have a family to worry about it later. Like,
No, it's raising 2 kids. It's
right. Like,
that's right.
If we don't pursue him with everything we've got, we won't have to worry about having this conversation later because we won't have a family. Like, we have to pursue him.
You will, but it'll be a mess.
Right. We won't be talking about God. That's for sure. You know?
You're going to be great, and you have married a great wife. You guys are going to kick butt.
That I know. I don't know about me being great. I do know I married
You
great.
guys will kick butt.
She's a rock star.
Yes, she is. Yes, she
Yeah.
is.
Well, Mark, I appreciate the hell out of you coming on here, talking in my garage.
I love it.
It's awesome.
What an honor.
Yeah,
I'm
means
proud
a lot.
of you.
Thank you. Good conversation. Hopefully, if you're struggling out there, hopefully there's a couple goobs here in Wisconsin that are struggling too, and you can relate a little bit to something we said. And yeah, hope it helps. I'm gonna get, if there's any type of a link for like what the Ridge is doing with the whole mental health stuff. I'm gonna get that from you. And
Yeah, it'd be great.
slide it in here. We did the same thing with Luke. We put the links to the stuff he's doing in there for the addiction stuff. So
We'll also put in there a link for Alpha for people maybe who are listening to this who aren't there with Jesus but are looking for a place like, where can I get some of these questions and talk about some of these
sure.
things?
Yeah.
Alpha, I think, would be a great thing to put in there as well. If
Okay.
you don't mind doing that.
Yeah, cool.
You
Okay.
can find a church near them that does Alpha.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's like it's not, you're not the only church that does that, right?
Oh, no, it's
like
huge.
It's a whole program.
Great. It's
yeah.
really, really good.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet. All right, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for
Appreciate
having
it.
me, buddy.
All right. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you on the next one. Have a good night.